Alright everyone, I'm going to give my true thoughts on seeing Godzilla Minus One, while at the same time giving the truth about my last Godzilla Minus One video. The truth of the matter is, I did copy the text from Wikipedia talking about the plot of Godzilla Minus One. And the reason I did it is because I noticed that nobody else had spoiler reviews on YouTube. And what I was doing at that moment was taking advantage of the fact that I could potentially be the first one. And the reason I did it is because, like everybody else on this platform, or at least like most people, I am trying my very best to make my channel monetized. I work a 8:30 to 5 o'clock shift at the hospital where I work. It pays decent, but there's always room for financial improvement. And so that's why I took the steps that I did. I am simply trying to put my best foot forward to make as much money as possible for myself as well as for my family. So what I did was I used the text from Wikipedia, the plot. I used AI to record it because for the most part I really don't like the sound of my own voice and how I come across. But it is what it is, and at the end of the day, I'm going to do whatever I can with this channel to make as much money as I can while I'm still around. So, that being said, I would actually like to give my true thoughts on the movie, because I just saw it. And I honestly think it's one of the greatest movies I've ever seen. Not just a monster movie, not just a Godzilla movie, but from any genre. I think they did just a fantastic job. And a lot of people are hitting very general markers as to why they think it's such a good movie. But what I'd like to do is deep dive into why I really truly think it is. So, the fact that they're following a kamikaze pilot who didn't go through with his mission and following the guilt that he went through shows another side to this whole story that nobody has explored really before, because they're hitting very realistic tropes that may have actually happened back then. I've never read any stories about pilots landing and pretending to have engine issues, but the fact that they put such a thing in there, and the fact that they're talking about how the citizens pretty much felt abandoned by their own government, and how so many people were trying to fight for survival despite the fact that they felt this abandonment, it was really good, very well executed. And the big elephant in the room, I think, for most people is the graphics and the effects of the movie. In my opinion, they were top-notch. There was nothing about it that really took me out of the moment. A lot of people have been complaining about Godzilla's stiff movements when he finally shows up in Tokyo. But I have to say, I think that was an artistic choice, because in my opinion they were trying to show Godzilla moving about with his new size, his new weight, after being mutated by the atomic bomb blast at Bikini Atoll. And I think this was simply Godzilla trying to get used to the weight that he had gained and putting that weight through his legs. I honestly saw nothing wrong with the animation and the way that he was walking. Because I think that anybody who gained that much mass in such a short time period would feel the same way, whether animal or a person. And obviously you see the way bigger people walk, if they're truly large, whether it's muscle or fat. Most people walk fairly off kilter when they're much larger size than their body should be able to hold. So I felt they did a good job with that. The regeneration that Godzilla went through anytime he was injured, there's been some people speculating that that's never really been done before. I agree only to the point that it's never truly been shown before. But Godzilla Millennium, aka Godzilla 2000, they talked about the regeneration factor of Godzilla a lot in that movie. And the scientist who discovered it even named it Regenerator G1 in the movie. So it's been talked about. This is the first time it's ever truly been shown, and it was done to great effect. And Godzilla's weakness being the inside as opposed to the outside of his body was also something that's been explored in other Godzilla movies. They explored it in Godzilla 1984, aka The Return of Godzilla. And that was actually the move that the military used to put him down for the count before the radioactive storm revived him. So I feel like they explored these moments, and they were definitely meant as Easter eggs, except that they were extremely effective in the way that they approached it. And while they could have gone the way of introducing the oxygen destroyer like they did in the very first movie, I'm glad they didn't, because this almost seems like its own alternate universe, and it works to great effect because of it. Godzilla himself is terrifying. They use a lot of close-ups. They use a lot of daytime moments, so it's not just Godzilla roaming around at night where you can't really see what's going on. They wanted to show the monster in his full glory, and they did such a great job. It always felt like a chase when Godzilla was on screen. He was chasing something, whether it's a boat or the people running for their lives. And it felt like what would happen if Jaws grew legs and decided to chase everyone on land, just in a much larger fashion. Or even the Meg. If the Meg grew legs and started chasing Jason Statham around. But I think the most underrated moment in the movie is when Godzilla first shows up before he is mutated. Kind of reminds me of what the T-Rex in Jurassic Park would look like if he was rabid. And he was killing everybody with reckless abandon. No real sense of trying to eat someone. He wasn't doing it because he was hungry. And in that sense, I do wish that the movie could have explored why Godzilla was doing the things he was doing to begin with, because he seemed vengeful from the very beginning of the movie. And typically when they talk about Godzilla being vengeful, it's usually after being irradiated by the atomic bomb, or after some sort of a large war conflict. They didn't really mention exactly why he was the way he was, and maybe they'll explore that in special features with the home release later on. But, I do feel that it could have been explored a bit better. And the only other real complaint that I feel like I have for this movie is the attack on Tokyo was way too short. In the original movie, he was attacking Tokyo for, I want to say 14, 15 minutes maybe even longer than that. It was a great, well-extended attack scene. This one, he shows up, he destroys a few buildings, definitely kills people. And then when the tanks fire on him, he fires his atomic blast in retaliation. And then it's all over all of a sudden. And, maybe it was to save money on the budget. Although I can't imagine that they budget animation artists in the same way that we do over here. Especially considering it looks like a $100 to $200 million movie made for only $15 million. To me, that is just insane because it does so well with the effects, the sense of urgency, Godzilla looming over everything that's going on. And anytime he's on screen, he just looks magnificent. I think this is the first time I've ever been this wowed since the first time I ever saw a Godzilla movie. I was truly impressed with what they could pull off with such a limited budget. And who knows, maybe Toho threw as much money at them as they could, and $15 million was all that was needed. I don't know. But I do know one thing. There's a lot of people who are complaining right now about the MonsterVerse Godzilla movies and how they fall woefully short of Godzilla Minus One. Personally, though, I think that the MonsterVerse, it feels a lot like the Showa era of the original series, just with a $200 million budget behind it. And in that sense, I'm still having fun watching those movies. It's just like the 70s, but with computer animation instead of a guy in a suit. I will say this, though, if they did want to explore other ways to fix the animation for a potential sequel, they could adopt what the United States filmmakers of today have adopted, which is motion capture. They could make the motions a bit more smooth in that sense if they wanted to go that route. Like I said, I feel that the weight of Godzilla and him trying to get used to it made for a great reason as to why he was walking the way he walked. But, that's just me. But also at the same time, I do think that a sequel is inevitable. I think that we're going to get one. Not Godzilla, but the Toho Studios has said before that they want to expand this universe for their own movies, and I think they should. I mean, there's room for Showa-era Godzilla in today's society just as much as there's room for a Godzilla that's representative of atomic war. And having these two versions happening concurrently makes it a great time to be a Godzilla fan. So in closing, for anyone who I upset or offended by having AI read the Wikipedia plotline, I'm sorry if I offended you. I'm not sorry for what I did, though, in order to garner the views that I did, because like I said, I'm trying to take care of my family. I'm trying to do what I can to get this channel monetized so that bringing in a little extra money won't be such a hassle. And if you can't understand that, then I feel sorry for you, because that just simply means you make too much doing what you're currently doing to carry what other people are struggling through. So with this is my little bit of integrity, letting you know that what I did is something that I did and I had a reason for it. So anyway, I hope that everybody who listens to this will see my reasoning, will be able to go ahead and subscribe and like my videos, because I plan to keep going. I don't plan on stopping anytime soon. And if you haven't seen Godzilla Minus One, I highly recommend it. I rated it 10 out of 10, even despite my complaints about certain things not lasting as long and not explaining certain things, such as Godzilla's mutation and his vengeful streak. I still give it a 10 out of 10. And I can't wait to own the home version of this movie so I can show everybody that I know and love.